All right. Well, hopefully you're having a good week. This is going to be a good one. This is a topic that every business owner thinks about. And if you're not thinking about it, then you will be thinking about it in a very different way today because we all want more leads. We want more leads. We need more leads. You've got people you need to take care of, got employees. And we have a Facebook group of over 20,000 U.S. based business owners, and there's actually 44,000 total in the group worldwide. And we asked the question, "What's your number one challenge?" And we put generating leads, more revenue, and being profitable, and then also hiring great people. Like those are the top three things in the home services space that we find are the challenges. So we asked this community to vote on it, and disproportionately, the number one challenge is getting more leads. How do I grow my business? This is especially true when you're under the $10 million mark. You're really under 5 million. You're trying to push. How do I generate more revenue, get more people to know about who I am, and get more results? So I want to ask in the chat. I want to poll here. How many of you that is at least in your top two challenges is generating more leads? Pretty much everyone will say yes to that. We always need more leads. We always need more customers because customers equal revenue. But what's the biggest challenge that you run into in trying to generate more leads? What are the roadblocks? Just drop them in the chat. The roadblocks you hit, the obstacles you encounter, the frustrations that happen, or if you're not doing any marketing, you're not running ads, why? What's the thing that holds you back from doing that? And it's typically a few of the same things. Yep, not knowing where to find the right ones. Qualified, getting leads that are qualified. There are countless lead generation agencies that will tell you, we'll get you X number of leads in an X number of appointments, and they think they're being savvy about it, but they're saying the same thing everyone else is saying. So the problem is you need more revenue, and more revenue requires that you have leads, you have potential customers that you can talk to, and that requires spending money to get those. Otherwise, you're banking on referrals, you're banking on networking relationships, which is a great way to grow a business, but it's not the most sustainable way because you don't control it. One of the things we're big on in with our clients that we work with is the few C's. There's clarity, there's confidence, and one of those is control. The other one, Tim will be happy, is cash flow, consistency. But control creates consistency so you can manage your cash flow. Control gives you confidence so you can have clarity around the decisions you're making. If you don't have control, especially when it comes to your marketing, it's one of the areas that we find for business owners where there is probably the lowest amount of control. A perfect example, we have a client that is a HVAC company. They did 30 million in revenue last year. They grew from 0 to 30 million in the last 4 years from startup, 0 to 30 million. And the challenge that they ran into is now that we're setting up campaigns, we are now going to launch marketing to target the residential side of their business. The problem is that as we're digging in, we're finding they don't own their website. The domain for their website was even transferred away from their business by this shady agency. The shady agency also created and owns their Facebook page, owns their Instagram page. So when it comes to marketing, they own none of the critical assets that they need in order to do marketing. Not because they're stupid, not because they are short-sighted, but because they just didn't know. And marketing is the dark corner of the business where your money goes to die. That's what most business owners believe. That's what most finance people believe. Spending money on marketing is a huge risk. And Tim, I want to ask you the question because I've never actually asked you this before. In the space of finance, what do finance people? How do they typically think of marketing in terms of risk or just general connotation of it?
It depends on the business. Um, in most cases, the results of marketing most marketers claim any bump in revenue is because of marketing, but until you can quantify it, which is the hardest part to do with the finance and marketing relationship, is quantify the results. So most finance individuals think that marketing is a black hole until it quantifiably you can truly track. I spent $10,000, and because of this, I've generated this many leads. And based off of my average lifetime value and my average return, I'll have an expected impact to my business of X, Y, and Z. And so you can map out that logic. Most people think marketing is black hole, but ultimately, particularly what we're starting to see with a lot of the clients as we start digging into the operational data, yes, marketing in its infancy is a black hole because it has to be. It's where your organization is learning, how do I attract attention? And I'm giving AJ's speech for him, but it is very much that marketing, when you are starting out, you're paying for the information of how can I learn to attract my perfect persona. Once you have your persona and you're starting to get traction, then you add fuel to the fire. And oftentimes, as AJ likes to talk about, oftentimes the initial marketing budget gets doubled or tripled because they're not seeing results, but they should continue tweaking and not tripling the budget until they start getting traction and then adding fuel to the fire. Went a little bit over, AJ, but hopefully that answered your question.
No, no, that was good because I want people to have the financial perspective. Tim has worked with lots of companies, done lots of marketing, millions, tens of millions of dollars spent in marketing, and it's good to have that perspective because this is also one of the major risks to marketing is that I'm going to throw out a number that is I'm a marketer, so it's accurate if I say it's accurate. 99% of marketing agencies don't actually understand business. They don't. They understand generating leads. They understand, like most consultants, they give you a advice. They might execute something for you, but the problem is that, and Steve Jobs even said this in a talk at, I believe it was either Harvard or Stanford, talking to business students. They asked him, what do you think about consultants? And he chuckled, and then they laughed because they all know what he was going to say. Uh, Consultants are typically not liked because they give advice, but then they aren't held accountable to the outcome of their advice. We operate differently. Our marketing team, agency team operates differently. We take accountability for the end result. So when we are working with a client, we ask the questions about operations, about if we get you more leads, do you have the infrastructure, sales team, delivery, fulfillment, operationally, are you running efficiently that you can deliver on this in the time frame that is necessary? Do you understand what your sales cycle is, the time from generating a lead to closing the deal and getting the contract signed? Do you understand your business cycle, which is time from generating the lead to signing the contract to completing the project and then collecting on the actual collecting the cash? Do you understand that part of your business? And where marketing agencies typically have a lifespan of about 90 days, meaning it's about 90 days before their client fires them and moves on and finds another agency that they're going to hire and fire within 90 days. The reason why is that in most home services businesses, unless you're doing strictly residential, which is about a 2 to 3 week business cycle from the time you get a lead to contract, complete the work, collect on the money, about 2 to 3 weeks, 30 days if it's a bigger project. Unless you're building pools, then it's months and months and months. But typically, you're on average, if it's not the smaller jobs, you're looking at 30 days to get a return on your marketing spend, 60 days, 9 days. And actually, I'll correct myself, even on the smaller jobs, we found with our clients, leads that we generate in a month will close maybe 20% of those leads and collect the money within that same month. But then the bigger jobs that come, the bigger ticket jobs that come from those same leads that were purchased in, let's just say, the month of January, they will close in the middle or late February, early March, and then into April. So we're looking at 30, 60, 90 days before we really see the full return on money that was spent in the first month. So part of why it's a struggle for you to generate profitable leads that are quality and see the return is don't have an understanding of what the cycle is. If you, like Tim said, marketing is a black hole where money goes to disappear, partly because it has to be, but in reality it's not disappearing. It's like planting a garden. My wife has gotten a garden the last couple of years, so we have basil that's grown out there, tomatoes that are grown out there, cilantro that's grown out there, which I love. I like cooking with cilantro a lot. It's probably my favorite herb, aside from arugula, which I won't get into all that. But growing it outside, but she knows certain season, she has to start planting certain certain vegetables, and they won't actually fruit, and we won't be able to harvest them for a couple months. But it has to start ahead of time. So this is the more sophisticated understanding when it comes to marketing, that you have to know, when do I start marketing? If summer's your busy season, you don't start marketing in June when summer starts. You start marketing in April, 30, 60 days before, because you need that time to cultivate the lead, to have the phone calls, to follow up, for your sales team to close, to get all logistics in place so that you capitalize on that. And I pay attention for our clients to what's happening in the space of marketing, looking at competitors. If you're a plumber, typically summer is a slower season, so there's not as much marketing happening. We will actually dial up marketing a little bit in specific ways to generate leads while they're cheaper, so that when we get into Q3 of the year, um, what is that, August through the end of the year, we actually are ahead of the game, because everyone that's trying to capitalize on fourth quarter, which is where it gets busy, they're going to start, that's October, November, December, they're going to start advertising in August and September. Well, if we start in the summer and then we ramp it up, we have an advantage. These are the things that marketing agencies typically almost always don't understand, because they've never owned or operated inside of a business to understand the operational impact of what they do, the financial impact of what they do, and they've never been held accountable to it. Because it's easy to just say, I'll get you leads. Where do you want to advertise? Give me money and we'll set up ads. But that's amateur marketing. So our team, the head of our marketing agency team, his name is also AJ, not me, different AJ. He comes from the world of finance, so he understands the numbers, he understands data, and he understands how business operates. So these are key things that get missed, that you've got to understand. Otherwise, you put yourself at a huge disadvantage. So what I'm going to walk you through here on this call is really understanding, what should your marketing look like. I already gave you some of the pitfalls. So before you hire a marketing agency, these are things that you absolutely have to understand. But before we do that, we're also streaming this live inside of our Facebook community. So I want to ask you, how many of you are working with an agency or are about to hire an agency? And this is for, if you're in the Facebook group, wherever you're watching this, drop a comment if that's you, if you're in that process. Yeah, we're going to see a lot of people that are right in that process right now. So this training is going to literally save you thousands of dollars, because here's what happens. You have to know how to vet an agency. You have to know, and yeah, Kirk dropped a good question. Who's on the verge of firing their agency? Who's questioning whether their agency is doing the job that they said they would do and doing it correctly? That's another question that you have to ask yourself. Are they doing what they said they would do? And do they even know how to do what they said they would do? So what I'm going to do is, here, I'm going to walk you through, how do you vet an agency? Here are some of the key questions you need to ask. The first question you should be asking the agency is, how do they get you results? Just really simple. How will you get me results? Here's what I want. I need more leads. Here's the type of company. How will you get me results? If they immediately start walking you through their system, their process, that's a red flag. Because any good marketer, like any good finance person, when you ask them, how will you get me XYZ results, their first response should always be, well, it depends. It depends because I don't know your situation. I don't know what the opportunity is or what the problems are. I don't know what the challenges are. So let me ask you a few questions. That should be where they start. You are asking them a question not to get an answer. You're asking them a question to prompt them to ask you the questions. So they should be asking you questions like, well, first tell me, what are your goals? What do you need to achieve? Are we Are we getting leads? Are we launching a new offer? Are we trying to go from commercial to residential, HVAC, plumbing? What do we need to accomplish? And then when you explain that, well, let's say like our client that we're working with now, we've done 30 million in commercial revenue. We did about 100,000 last year in residential. Weren't even trying to do it. People just came to us. But now we want to really attack that. We want to go after residential and build that part of our business and generate a couple $1 million this year. Fantastic. They should be asking you, do you have the what is it? What are you what's the price point? What specific residential services are you going to offer and at what price point? And then you explain that. Then they should follow up with, okay, now that I understand your goals, understand what the price points are, what does it cost you to deliver on that? And here's why, drop in the chat, does anyone know why they should ask that question about how profitable your services are? Why should a marketing agency absolutely ask that? ROAS, exactly. So it's two things. ROAS is correct, but it's also ROI. They need to understand how much can you afford to spend to get a lead, to get a customer. They also need to ask what your close rate is. These are the questions we ask clients. So if you're selling a 10,000, let's see, one of our clients, they do, we'll just use an easy number. It's about $4,000 or $5,000 for a water heater replacement. They will replace a water heater, it costs $5,000. We need to know, how profitable is that? What's our cost on it? Because if it's, and Tim, drop it in the chat if you know off the top of your head how profitable that is. The team knows. Let me see. So yeah, thank you, Kirk. ROAS is return on ad spend. ROI is return on investment, the overall, not just the ad spend, but the overall marketing budget. So let's say they make 50% gross margin on a $5,000 water heater install. That means $2,500 of that is gross profit, meaning we took out the cost of the water heater, the cost of the labor, and we have $2,500 left. Then we take out whatever other costs, taxes, whatever else is included, and then we need to know, of that 50, how much do you actually keep? If they keep 20%, which would be $1,000, can we afford to spend $1,000 to get that customer? The answer is no, because then there's no profit left. So the marketing agency needs to understand, what can you afford to spend to acquire a customer so that you're still profitable? And then how many of those do you need to sell within your ad spend, which would be your return on ad spend. So we know in the home services industry, just generally, if we're looking at residential, not so much commercial, because commercial is very large dollar amounts, much more profitable. And typically it doesn't come through ads, it comes through more relationship and brand marketing, account-based marketing strategies. But when we look at residential in home services, it's typically a 4x ROAS, meaning for every dollar spent, you should make 4 back. If we're hitting between $3 to $4 back for every dollar spent, you should be profitable. Should be. There are other factors that go into that, but you should be profitable. These are the things that a marketing agency needs to know. If they're not asking you these kinds of questions, it's because they don't care and because they don't understand it and they don't know what to do with that information, which means you're going to get 90 days into the relationship and you're going to end up questioning whether or not you should fire them, or you're going to end up firing them. And it's not necessarily their fault. You have to know how this is supposed to work. So those are the red flags. Those are some of the questions you should ask. Other red flags, agencies that offer a free website and then want you to pay them for services. Don't take it. They will own it. Make sure you own everything. If they say, we'll set up your Facebook Business Manager account, we'll set up your Google Ads account, fantastic, I appreciate that. Will I own it? You should absolutely own it. They should not own anything. You should own the platforms, the business and the ad accounts. You should own the data. They should be reporting on it. You should own all of those things. If they have any problem with that, I'll tell you why. It's because they know you're going to leave in 90 to 120 days. And so they want to make it difficult. Well, we own your website. If you leave, your website goes down. So you're going to stay. Well, you can leave, but then you don't get your ad account. You don't get all the data. So then you're going to stay. This is why one of the first things we do is we give our clients control. And we've had to navigate this and go back and forth and fight with agencies to make this happen. But this is why it's important. So once you've found a good agency, what do you do then? What does it look like? When should you, let's answer this question. When should you start spending money on marketing? So I'm going to kick it over to Tim again to give the financial side of it, and then I'm going to come back and give more the marketing side of it. But Tim, let's walk through that question. When should a business spend money on paid marketing?
In a perfect world, it's when you're generating positive cash flow, and every additional dollar spent in marketing spend is generating excess cash flow, so that the math actually works. Because the way AJ walked through that math didn't actually include any fixed costs or overhead allocation for your revenue, which means when you're investing in marketing, particularly in the beginning, when you don't know whether or not it's going to work, you want to invest with the cash that your business is already generating. So if you invest in marketing, your business isn't entering into a state of negative cash generation. You don't want to be burning cash as you're learning how to market to your client base. So it's a really sensitive subject, because oftentimes most business owners, particularly in the small business space, don't understand whether or not their business is cash generating. So then we enter into another conversation of how do we establish cash generation metrics. That's really when you want to start, in a perfect world, investing in marketing. It's when your business is generating cash consistently and you have, say, 2 to 3 months worth of cash in the bank to cover the investment. Again, it's going to take time to have a marketing campaign produce results. So you want to have enough cash to weather that time. So if you're going to increase your ad spend by $5,000, then 3 months, you want to have $15,000 worth of cash on top of what your business needs in order to withstand the market impact of waiting for results from the marketing standpoint. But that's from the finance standpoint. Let's hear from AJ about marketing.
Awesome. Appreciate that, Tim. So here's the thing you need to look at, because that's you need to be positive, have positive cash flow. And now I'm going to talk about what you should establish as a budget for marketing. If you cannot set aside a minimum of $5,000 a month for marketing, you should not pay for marketing. You can't afford to. Here's why. When I see questions about marketing, even inside our Facebook group, there's lots of people. I see dozens of comments, and the comments come from two perspectives. One, I'm willing to spend money on marketing, but I keep getting burned. Where do I go? The other side is typically smaller businesses. You don't need to pay anyone, do it all yourself. Both answers are correct, but both answers can also be wrong, because it depends on timing. So if you are a business that is under 2 million, you likely don't have the cash flow. And if you're under 1 million, you absolutely don't have the cash flow to spend money on marketing. You need $5,000 a month minimum. And I say minimum because I've also seen comments from a lot of business owners and in conversations asking, well, how much should I spend? Or I'll ask, what have you budgeted? Well, I'm going to spend $1,200 a month. You're not going to get results. Like, is that's your total budget, or is that the ad spend? No, it's my total budget. Well, that means that's barely going to cover the management fee. Oh, I found someone who they'll charge me $500 a month. If they're charging you $500 a month, you're going to get what you're paying for, which is someone outsourced in India, and they're not going to check it. One of our clients, we had them. I was amazed, and they didn't know better. So it's really not they should pay attention to it, but they were paying for a year someone to run Facebook ads. This agency launched one single Facebook ad and then never touched it again. When our team goes in, and we have a extremely high success rate. If we work with 10 clients, 9 of them are getting positive results in marketing, and the 10th one either didn't have money to spend, so we didn't launch anything anyway, or we had to do a little bit of work to get it working. So we have an extremely high success rate in launching ads and getting results profitably. But what our team does as a standard, they are in whatever the ad account is. If it's Facebook, if it's Google, they are in there checking, optimizing, meaning they're making changes based on what's working. They're tweaking things. They're shutting off ads that aren't working every 72 hours minimum. And depending on the client, they may go in there every single day, especially at the beginning of a campaign. They're watching it very closely. So, and then every single week, they're giving a report. Here's what we changed. Here's where it's at. Here's what's performing. Here's what's not. And then there's also a dashboard. They have a dashboard where clients can go and they can see all of their marketing results. In fact, I will actually pull up a live client dashboard and show you exactly what our clients see. I'm going to scroll up so that you don't see the name of the company. Let's see, share. Oop, here we go. So this is live as of right now. So this is what clients see. It gets customized to them, company colors, all that fun stuff. But these are the campaigns. Here's what you're spending. Here's what leads are costing you. Here's what campaigns, all of this, specific campaigns. Are they getting clicks? Are they producing leads? So it's very, very in depth what clients actually see. So Facebook as well. If they have multiple locations like this client does, we put all this information and it's all visible to the client. This is a live link that they can look at any time of the day, every single day. So you can see the data. Most marketing agencies don't do this. So we're checking. It's got to be checked regularly. And so going back to where this whole point started is minimum budget. A agency that's actually good at what they do will charge you a minimum of, unless they're a solo person and they can still be good, they can be, but they're one person, they're going to charge you a minimum of about $2,000 per channel. If you're on Facebook, it's $2,000 for Facebook. Google, it's $2,000 for Google. So that's $4,000 right there. And then you need to have your ad spend on top of that, which is why I say a minimum of 5,000, because we're going to transition. I'm going to walk you through how do you build out your marketing from the start. What does that look like over time? Because it's not just launch Facebook ads, launch Google ads, and I'm good forever and just keep spending more. You get to a point where you cap out in terms of the return that you're seeing on any given platform, and you have to now layer on different channels. Ideally, you should have a marketing strategy and a comprehensive marketing campaign that's built of multiple platforms: Facebook, Google, uh, email, cold calls, direct mail, because you can't rely on any single platform. Right now, TikTok is, if several months ago when President Trump got hired, when we hired him as president, he he stopped the ban on TikTok. So Joe Biden was going to ban TikTok. President Trump stopped it. People were freaking out, and then they were happy it's not getting banned. Well, now the timeline was June. Well, it's now June, and June, we're halfway through June. So anybody making money on TikTok, if it is their primary platform, a lot of these influencers, even a lot of businesses that are using TikTok Shop, and that's their primary advertising platform, they're about to feel the pain because they don't have other platforms. And this is why it's important to diversify. Investing in marketing is like investing in a portfolio, whether it's stocks or different investment vehicles. You never put it all into one because it fluctuates. You diversify strategically. So if one goes down, you can put the money into something else. You create some safeguards. This is what most agencies don't understand because they just run Facebook ads. So our agency team does Facebook, Google. We have another agency partner that does SEO specifically. We've built a team that has specific expertise in all of these things. And then our team, we create the strategy. Here's what you do, how you do it, and when you do it. So it gets really, really specific when we look at those things. So what I want to show you now, I'm going to walk you through. I'm actually going to share my pull up my iPad here, and I'm going to show you what your marketing should look like so that you can actually scale and grow. So bear with me a second. We're going to get fancy with the technology. There we go. And just give me a thumbs up when you can see this. All right, everyone can see this? Perfect. Okay, so here's what it looks like. The reason I said you have to have a minimum is because you need to be able to pay a decent agency that knows what they're doing, but also one of the challenges is you need to be able to spend a minimum amount in order to get the leads to get the deals. So for example, if you are selling you do HVAC installs and it costs $10,000. This lead is going to cost you $50 to $150 per lead, cost per lead. In marketing, we call it a CPL. That's what it's going to cost you per lead. So $10,000 that you spend, and we're just talking ad spend. If you spend $10,000 and you divide that by, we'll average it out to $100 per lead, that's going to get you 100 leads. On that, typically you'll have about, and this is average, when we run campaigns, we tend to see it be a little better, but we use kind of industry standards averages. You'll see about 30% are going to be marketing qualified leads, meaning if you are targeting homeowners in a certain area who need an HVAC or a unit replacement or install, these people match that. They fit the right persona. So that means you've got 30 marketing qualified leads. We call those MQLs, marketing qualified leads. Of those, we then look at how many of those are an SQL. An SQL is a sales qualified lead, meaning they are ready to buy now. They're in the market. They're not just shopping and looking, I'm building a house, I need someone to install an AC unit in 6 months. You should have somewhere probably around 50%, and this can fluctuate, so I'm just going to use easy numbers. So 15 SQLs. We've seen clients close anywhere from 70 to 80% of the leads that come in. But let's use these numbers and let's just call it 50%. So you're closing 7. And we'll just call that deals. So you spend 10,000, you close 7 deals. That means that your cost to acquire each of those customers, you had a CPA, cost per acquisition, or cost to acquire a customer. They both mean the same thing. Finance tends to use this, marketing tends to use this, of about $1,450. This is why you cannot spend $500 and expect to generate leads that are profitable and that make you revenue. This is why if you hire an agency and you have a $1,000 budget, you're not getting leads and you're not making money every month because you're not spending enough to buy the customer. Dan Kennedy, one of the godfathers of direct response marketing, direct response meaning I run an ad and I want the customer or prospect to directly respond to it. This started with newspapers. You see it in the 1950s with an ad for a vehicle, an ad for a house, an ad for cigarettes. Marketing was a little crazy back then. Go watch the show Mad Men and you'll see kind of some of the stuff they would get sued for it now. But that's when direct response happened. We want people to take direct action. You have to know what it actually costs you. So if you have an offer that's $5,000 to $10,000 and you are spending $1,000 a month on ads, that's part of the reason you're not getting results. You don't spend enough because you have other agents, other companies that are competing for that customer. And Dan Kennedy, his famous quote is, "Whoever can afford to spend the most to acquire a customer wins." Amazon for the first 10 years, put in the chat how
AJ,
much. Yeah,
can I step in before we go away from the numbers itself?
do it.
We pull up the iPad again. If we assume that after marketing spend, again, if we spend $1,400, if we assume that every deal that marketing brings in, we operate at a 20% margin, that deal size, in order to break even on ad spend, needs to be $7,000. So if we just divide that by 20. So what that means from the finance perspective is, as we're talking about whether or not we can increase ad spend or increase the allowable cost to acquire the client, or do we just fiddle with the percentages? How can we increase the marketing keywords with the same ad spend, or increase the sales qualified leads with better conversions in the sales team, in order to increase the number of deals that we close so that we bring down the cost to acquire a client. Again, just because you're spending $10,000 in ad spend does not mean that you have to spend more in order to generate more revenue. Because what that average deal size is saying at $7,000 is that if your average deal size is $7,000 or less, marketing, if you increase the ad spend, you're losing money. And if it's higher than $7,000, again, this is assuming a 20% margin. If it's higher than $7,000, then yeah, you've got a little bit more wiggle room, but the closer you get to that 7,000 number, the less profit or the less cash generation you have available in the business in order to push the business elsewhere. Again, there's multiple levers that you have in the business, and oftentimes the best one early on is efficiencies. Can I change the conversion rates of an already existing system or process in order to make my business more efficient with the same amount of resources going into it? Cash is a resource that must be controlled. But back to you, AJ.
Yeah, appreciate that. So you guys, you can hear you have to understand the different aspects of how to look at this so that you're actually getting the results that you want. You can't spend too little. You have to spend strategically, because your goal in marketing should be to spend as much as possible. It should be always to how do I spend more? How do I spend more money? Because the more you spend, the more you'll be generating in revenue and profit if you're doing it correctly. So it's this balance between spending more and then making more from what you're spending. So we teach a framework inside of our with our clients. We teach in our phase 4 program, where we teach clients our phase 4 operating system, where there's 8 frameworks that we implement as every business that we've scaled, that we are currently scaling, and we guide them through that process. If we're doing full-on consulting, we implement it with them and for them. But the key here is one of the frameworks that's directly related to marketing and sales is the 4 levers. So I'm going to walk you through what these 4 levers look like. And what I want to do here real quick, let me do this. Let's see, 1 second here. Okay. So can you guys see that? You guys can see the share screen, correct? Okay, perfect. So there are 4 levers, and I'm going to abbreviate these just to keep it simple. So if we think of these 4 levers, there's more leads, better leads, more valuable leads, and then we have more lifetime value. And this is actually conversion value. So when we look at these 4 levers, we ask, which of these do we need to pull? So going to what Tim said about increasing spend, you can actually lose money. This will tie in the whole concept of layering marketing strategies. Right now we have a client that we're running ads on Google. On Google, you can do search ads, local service ads, and then organic. Organic, you don't pay for on the platform, but as a business you pay for it if you have, and that's usually tied to SEO. So we still consider that paid marketing because we're paying for someone to do the optimization on the SEO. Right now with Google Ads, the search ads, we've pretty much capped out how much we can spend. We really can't spend more because we are ranking I think we're number 2 or 3 now as far as impression share, meaning all the eyeballs in our geographic area that are searching for, in this case, plumbing, we are number 3 as far as taking those eyeballs. LSA, we can keep pushing, but only about 20% a month. We can increase the budget, and that's great. Organic SEO, it's what it is monthly, and it takes 6 to 9 months. It takes time to produce. So what we've done is we asked the question, can we get more leads? Well, we can through LSA. We can potentially through SEO. But the problem with Google search is that while it's producing results, we need better leads. So we need to get better leads. Those better leads will get a better conversion value. It'll be jobs that are higher ticket. And then we're also going to implement email marketing to our existing list of customers to get them to come back and do business with us again, which increases our lifetime value, the value of a customer for the lifetime that they work with us. So it's not pulling one lever. If you've ever done sound engineering, it's like you're adjusting these different levers to get the results that you're looking for. And someone said you guys cannot see the iPad. What do you guys see right now? You just see me? All right, let me adjust this here because it should be sharing, but it's going to do what it wants to do. So hold on. Okay, now you see me again. Let's get this share correctly because I want you guys to see these levers. If it doesn't work, we'll put it up on the replay and then we'll put that there. Okay, you should see it now. Do we see it now? Okay, good. All right, so more leads, better leads, higher value leads. The reason you need to stack the strategies and the channels is because the reason we're doing SEO now is because SEO is going to help us convert more of the ads in Google. SEO helps with the organic and Google Maps. Google Maps is 60% of the conversion for Google Ads. So if you're running Google Ads and you're not getting the results you want, you're not showing up everywhere you need to. When you look at a search page, you have here the search box, whatever term you're searching. Here, you're typically going to see sponsored. These are Google search ads. That's going to be right here. And then here, you're going to see all these companies listed, and this is maps. And then when you scroll down a little further, then you're going to see this bottom section with all these company links, and this is organic. This is how conversion looks. 20% of your leads will come from sponsored ads. Another 20% or so, probably a little less, will come from organic. But 60% comes from Google Maps. The only way you show up in Google Maps is SEO. So we're running Google Ads, and the Google Ads are making sure we're showing up here. And 40-something% of the time, almost 50% of the time, we show up there. We're top 3. So we're getting leads. We're not really showing up here organically because there's no SEO, and Maps hasn't been optimized, so we're not showing up there. So what we're now doing is we're focusing on leveraging all of this opportunity here through SEO, here and here. Why? Because when we optimize all of this here, what that's going to do, it's going to increase the quality of the leads. It's going to give us a higher conversion value. And then we do email marketing. So we increase our revenue, increase our profit by using multiple channels. Long term, here's the path for most of you. Start with either Google Ads or Facebook ads. When you're making profit, and we're not even going to talk numbers now, when you're making profit and you're getting at least a 3 to 4x return, $3 to $4 made for every dollar spent, then, and you've capped out with Google Ads, you've increased your budget, then look at SEO. Here, when you've got a list, email marketing, phone calls, follow-up, send customers a thank you card, a letter, things that require time, but not necessarily money. And then when you get here, add on another channel. And then you start to expand from there. The mistake that most home services businesses make is spending too little money or too much money in the wrong places and not diversifying it, not capitalizing on what's going to help your Google ads perform better. Well, they stopped working. They didn't stop working. You have an agency that doesn't know how to work them. It doesn't know how to cultivate. So that's how you get leads every single day in Autopilot. You have to understand how to talk to an agency, how to vet them, and what marketing should actually look like. What we just gave you here is a masterclass on getting started with marketing. You won't get this from an agency because most of them don't know. And if they do, they're charging you a lot more than $2,000 a month because they know they can get results. And that's why we've built the team that we've built to give business owners exactly this and save the money. The tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that our clients have lost on marketing with bad agencies prior to working with us is it's incredible, and it's sad. It's heartbreaking because that's revenue that they don't have. It's profit they don't have. It's leverage in their company to take care of their people and their families that they don't have because of an agency that didn't know what they were doing. So hopefully that adds a lot of clarity and gives you some great insight and great direction of where to start